Welcome back to Montana this morning, everyone. The time is 6:46. Looking down at Grand Avenue from our first Interstate Bank iCam on this Thursday morning as we get things going. Well, President Trump kicked off a whirlwind schedule of campaign events that'll send him crisscrossing the nation over the next week. He's trying to drum up Republican support leading up to the midterm elections, and Democrats are doing the same, sending some of their biggest names to rebuke the president. CBS's Laura Podesta is in New York with details.
President Trump campaigned in Florida last night, his first of 11 events in 8 states ahead of the midterm elections.
And Ron DeSantis will be your next governor.
He's keeping immigration front and center.
Democrats want open borders, and they want to invite caravan after caravan into our country, which brings crime.
Trump is a pathological liar.
Democratic heavy hitters on the campaign trail are not letting up on the president's political attacks.
And it really doesn't matter what he says, because that has nothing to do with his reality.
Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders was also in Florida yesterday campaigning for Andrew Gillum, who's running for governor against DeSantis. And former Vice President Joe Biden was in Missouri for Senator Claire McCaskill.
We need people who are authentic, who don't bully or belittle other people.
Former President Obama and Oprah Winfrey will also be out campaigning for Democrats in the next few days. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
One of those upcoming stops is Montana. President Trump will make his way to the state for his 4th visit this Saturday, November 3rd. You can watch the rally on our website, ktvq.com, and full coverage of the rally will be available on your weekend evening news. Vice President Mike Pence is also making his way back to the Big Sky State. While specific details have not been released, the vice president will hold a rally in Kalispell on Monday to benefit Republican Senate candidate Matt Rosendale. You can check back in with Q2 for details on time, location, and ticket information. Montana's U.S. Senate race takes a new turn. Libertarian Rick Breckenridge has dropped out of the race and is endorsing Republican Matt Rosendale. Breckenridge and Rosendale made the announcement in a teleconference Wednesday morning. Breckenridge says he knows he cannot win the race against Democrat Jon Tester and feels Rosendale can best advance the cause of liberty. Rosendale's campaign then alleged that Tester supporters are behind a new mailer that slams Rosendale and promotes Breckenridge as a true conservative. The source of the mailer is not identified. Rosendale called it a dark money attack designed to siphon votes away from him to benefit Tester. The Tester campaign says it had nothing to do with the mailer and condemns the use of dark money. MTM political analyst Dr. David Parker says Breckenridge's decision to drop out and endorse Matt Rosendale may have come too late to make a difference. Plus, he believes dropping out might hurt Montana third-party candidates in the future.
If I'm a member of the Libertarian Party, if I'm a member of the Libertarian Party leadership, I've got to be very angry about this. And certainly it does no good for third-party candidates and third parties in general if the candidates that you nominate decide to ditch and support one of the major party candidates. I don't think it helps third parties at all.
Tester's campaign also points out that Rosendale has voted against attempts to regulate and disclose dark money campaign spending. Meanwhile, a new poll from Gravis Marketing shows neck-and-neck races for both the House and Senate. In the House, it's a dead heat between incumbent Republican Greg Gianforte and Democrat Kathleen Williams, each with 48% support. 3% of those polled say they're still undecided. In the Senate race, incumbent Jon Tester holds a 3% lead over Republican Matt Rosendale, 48% to 45%. 32% of these 782 people polled said they've already voted. The poll has a margin of error of plus or minus 3.5%. Gravis also asked about President Trump's performance in office. 43% strongly approve, while 33% of those polled disapprove of the president. So far in Yellowstone County, more than 45,000 absentee ballots have been returned, and you still have time to get yours in. If you plan on sending your ballot by mail, you need to get it out today to ensure it's counted on Election Day. Starting Friday, you'll need to drop your ballot at the local election office, which you can do up until 8 p.m. on Election Day, Tuesday, November 6th. In other news, the man killed in a rollover crash on I-90 Tuesday has been identified. 84-year-old Grant Miller of Crow Agency was killed when the vehicle he was a passenger in went off the side of the interstate near the Pryor Creek Road. Montana Highway Patrol says the driver overcorrected, going off the side of the interstate and rolling before coming to rest at a fence. Miller was transported by helicopter to the hospital where he later died. The female driver of the vehicle suffered minor injuries in the crash. The opioid epidemic has taken a tremendous toll all across America, and American Indians have been hit hard. Now the Northern Cheyenne tribe is fighting back, filing a suit against companies that produce and distribute the pain medication. The tribe's lawsuit alleges the risk of addiction was misrepresented by those companies and that the opioid epidemic did not happen by accident. More than a dozen drug makers and distributors are named in the lawsuit. It claims the companies have created a public nuisance resulting in overdoses and death. The tribe says it has been hit with a financial burden to pay for treatment and other costs associated with opioid abuse. The tribe is seeking economic damages and a jury trial. The Northern Cheyenne tribe is now the second tribe to file suit against opioid companies. The Blackfeet tribe filed a similar suit in August. Now we go to Three Forks, where after nearly 3 months, the workers at the Imerys talc plant will soon be headed back to work. Montana's American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations calls it a victory for the Boilermakers after they approved a new contract with Imerys. The lockout began back in August after the company and its union workers could not come to an agreement on a new contract. Since then, the workers were locked out and took part in nonstop protesting. Multiple politicians joined the picket lines, including Governor Steve Bullock. He issued this statement Wednesday saying, quote, "Montanans all across the state can be proud of these workers for their unwavering commitment and for showing that the rights of workers are always worth fighting for." The company's 35 workers are expected back on the job next Monday, November 5th. And back here in Billings, visitors to Rimrock Mall will see a new shop pop up in Center Court today, and this business is personal. Red Lodge entrepreneur Nicole O'Shea will bring her daily planner business, Sixth & Baker, to Rimrock Mall for what will be the first physical location. Sixth & Baker won the mall's Battle of the Pop-Up Shop contest. The prize is a rent-free 6-month stay in Rimrock Center Court. Sixth & Baker was born from O'Shea's journey to rebuild her life after her 2 youngest children were in an accident that brought up past trauma and pushed her life off track. The pages in the planner are designed to help users maintain control of their lives and focus on organization, mindfulness, and appreciation of life's daily blessings. O'Shea tells us that Sixth & Baker has already sold out of its first order of planners, and she's excited for the opportunity to grow her business and tell her story in Rimrock Mall over the next 6 months. In news from Yellowstone National Park, back in September, a long dormant pool sprang to life in Yellowstone National Park's Upper Geyser Basin. On Wednesday, the park showed 60 years worth of debris that the geyser spat out when it shot 30 feet in the air. The ground around the geyser and even a nearby boardwalk was showered with old coins, cans, combs, and even a 1930s baby pacifier. Normally, Ear Spring only shoots water about 2 feet in the air, but this eruption, the biggest since 1957, was caught by the Old Faithful webcam. In a Facebook live stream, park rangers showed off some of the old relics that popped out of the geyser.
We have a Hamm's beer can with a zip top style pull tab. So these types of pull tabs were started being manufactured pre-1962.
While the debris might be an archaeological treasure trove, park rangers say throwing things into a geyser is among the worst things you can do when visiting the thermal areas in Yellowstone.
And that vent gets narrower and narrower and narrower. When the vent becomes completely plugged, as it has in several springs in the park, then the spring can actually plug up to the point where it's not a hot spring anymore, and it'll go dormant.
The rangers say high water levels due to recent wet winters is driving all the renewed geyser activity. They say it does not indicate a change in the volcanic plume that heats the park from the miles beneath the surface.